Start. Okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca Williams. This is Tucker, and today I'm giving him a full body massage. He is a 9-year-old quarter horse paint. He's going to be a good boy today, aren't you? So I'm going to start at the long back muscles. They go from the withers over to the long. And we're starting with the muscles into the spinalis, the longissimus dorsi, the ilocostal muscle, and then the latissimus dorsi in here. I'm going to start with some slow effleurage from the withers down, just to see how the muscles feel. I'm going to go back with some cross fiber friction with my fingertips. His muscles just feel a little bit tight, but they're not sore. Okay, so I switched to Tucker's other side. Excuse the mud he rolled. So I'm going to start at the back muscles again. Same as I did before. I'm going to work down them with some effleurage and then go back with some friction. Use my fingertips again. Just work up and down across these fibers. I just finished in the long back muscles, so I'm now moving into the loin area. The same muscles run into that area. I'm going to start up closer to the spine, use some friction, cross fiber friction, and work my way through the loin area. So I finished in the loins. Now I'm moving back to the top of the haunches. We have the superficial gluteus and middle gluteus. So I'm using my curry comb again, like I did the other side. I'm going to start with some cross fiber friction across the top of these muscles. These muscles go from top of the sacrum up here and then down to the hip joint. Alright, so we just finished in the top of the haunches. Now I'm going to move up into the croup area. And I'm just going to use some direct finger pressure with some compression with my thumb. I'm just going to work all around this area. So we finished in the croup area. Now I'm heading down into the upper hamstrings, which is a biceps femoris, attaches to the sacrum, goes down, semi-tendinous, and as well as semi-membranous. I'm going to start at the edge of the sacrum with some thumb compression and work my way down towards the tail. So we finished in the upper hamstring attachment. Now we're filing the same muscles down into the lower attachments. So I'm going to start in the semi-muscles. I'm going to start with some compression. Now that move over to the biceps femoris, I'm going to do some friction around the top here. Also going to switch to some kneading around the fleshy part. Then I'm going to compress and glide up the muscle. So moving around to the back of the horse, I'm going to go in between the legs and work on the adductors. I'm pushing the tail aside, inserting my hand, and just gently kneading those muscles. Next section I'm working on is the quadriceps, which is the lateral vastus, which is starts at the stifle, works its way up towards the hip joint, and the medial vastus works its way underneath the stifle and up. I'm going to start with the lateral vastus. I'm going to start with some kneading the fingertips by the stifle. I'm going to do some friction all around the stifle in here. Then I'll start at the stifle, use some deep effleurage with the heel of my hand, work up towards that hip joint. Now work on the medial vastus. I'm going to work up behind the stifle. So I'm going to start with just use some compression to push that muscle. My goal is to push this muscle against the femur, separate the fibers. I'm going to work with the lateral one first. This side. I'm going to use gentle, kind of circular motions with a little bit of kneading around this stifle. This is somewhat of a sensitive area, so I'm not going to use a ton of pressure. Wait. Working up from the quadriceps, I'm going into the area between the pointed hip and the last rib. There are muscle attachments from the external oblique, internal oblique. They all attach to this section. So I'm going to start with some thumb compression. You flinched and tightened up right here. Just going to keep applying some pressure in here. He's telling me he's a little bit sore in this spot. Go back with some cross fiber friction. There's a spot in here, it feels a little bit tight. It's that kind of flinchy. So I'll use a little bit less pressure in here. I'll then go back with a little bit of cross fiber friction. Going up behind the shoulder, where we have the muscle portion of the latissimus dorsi and then the thoracic serratus. I'm going to do some circular motions with some friction all around the latissimus dorsi. Muscle appears to have some good movement in it. It's not tight or sore. Work my way down the serratus. Use some effleurage down the area. Do some effleurage down. I'm going to use kind of the side of my hand and the heel. Now I'm working at the withers. The withers has attachment for the rhomboid, which is under the trapezius. I'm going to work with some muscle combing up towards the withers to separate these fibers. I'll use some friction. Also going to reach on the other side and use a form of rocking. Rock the others back and forth. So now I'm working on the belly line. I'm working on pectoral A, which runs behind the elbow to the middle of the belly. So I'm going to start with some fingertip compression to where it attaches at the sternum. Then I'll go back with my current comb, using effleurage back. Friction. So I finished pectoral A, now on pectoral B, which is in the inside of the two front legs and runs down towards the radius. So I'm going to start with just some compression to where it attaches at the sternum. I'll go back with some friction. Work down the leg a little bit. Now I'm working on pectoral C, which is the weak of the chest muscles. I'm going to start off with some compression again, where it attaches at the top to the sternum. Just using my fingertips. I use some friction at the top. Work my way down. I'll finish with some kneading along this muscle. I did the work on the pectorals. Now I'm going to work on raising the back. When I run my fingers down, it's already starting to raise a little bit for me. So I'm going to start here. Fingers. He's raising a little bit more than the other side, which is good. So I switch sides, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm reaching under the sternum into the other pectoral I was just at. I'm pushing up towards the front. If you won't lift today, I'll come back and work on these pectoral muscles. So he's raising up slightly here and there. So I might go back and do some work along this muscle here. See if I can't get him to loosen it up a little more to raise that back up. I would like him to raise it some more, but we can continue to work on this. With the midline of the belly, reach over across the sternum. I push my fingers in, up, and then towards me. See if I can't get that back to rise some more. So now I'm working on the groin area of the belly line, which I'll be working on the internal oblique, the external oblique, and the rectus abdominis. So I'm starting with the internal oblique. I'm going to work up in the stifle, up towards the, almost towards the sheath, and then back down. So I'm going to start up in here and do some connective tissue massage and just gently push around this muscle. Some deeper pressure, like an effleurage, and work towards the belly line. I'm going to do a little bit of circles up in here. Work my way towards the center of the belly, just still doing circles. So now I'm working the external oblique. I'm going to start from about the point of the hip, work my way down towards the elbow. I'm going to start with just some effleurage and work down back with some friction. So now I'm working on the rectus abdominis, the last muscle in our groin area. It runs from the mid-belly to up towards our sheath. So I'm just going to do some connective tissue massage along this muscle, starting at the rib attachments. Obviously sensitive in this area, so I'm going to do just very little pressure. I'm going in somewhat of a circular, just gentle circular motion. Just spreading these fibers out. Now I'm coming up into the shoulder. I'm going to work on the supraspinatus muscle and the infraspinatus, and then over that is the deltoid. I'm working all three of them at the same time. They start up the shoulder blade and they work down towards the point of the shoulder. So I'm just going to start with some effleurage up from the top and work my way down these muscles. Then use some friction, starting from the top. Just go back and forth. So we're still in the shoulder area. We just did from the shoulder blade. Now we're working triceps. We're going to start with some compression down by the elbow. A little tight, but not too bad. And I'll go back with some kneading. So now we're in the next section. We're past the shoulder, we're up into the neck. I'm working on the crest line or the rhomboid. Attachments are at the withers and then up at the pole. So I'm going to start with some friction at the withers. This muscle's a little bit tight, as the rhomboids tend to be. I'm going to work back down with some friction and I'll go back up with effleurage. So now we're still working the neck muscle, but now I'm moving down to the brachiocephalus, which runs attachments at the atlas down the length of the neck and into the point of the shoulder. Hello. So I'm going to start with some friction at the top with my curry comb. And work back up. Then I'll use some effleurage and work down. I'm using a fairly decent amount of pressure here, really pushing against this muscle. And work up it. A little bit tight up in the top here. So I'm gonna go back with some compression up in here. So we finished with the brachiocephalus. Now we're working on the splenius and the serratus muscle. I'm just gonna start with some circular friction at the base of the neck. And work my way up the neck. And then use some effleurage at the top and work my way down toward the base of the neck, going with the fibers. And then use some fingertip compression up by the vertebrae. Our next step, we're going to do some positional release. I'm going to be working around the 4th and 5th neck vertebrae. So I'm going to unhook his halter just for this. When he's heavy pressure, I'm going to push the neck away from me with my thumb. I'm going to gently encourage his head to come toward me. Now I'm going to just hand each side of his neck and do some rocking. I'm just pushing back and forth. His neck is moving really nice. So next section I'm working on is his head. I'll be working on first the upper attachments by the atlas. I'm just going to use some back and forth friction. So now I'm working on the throat latch. I'm going to unclip his halter for the time being. I'm going to work on the hyoid bone up in here where the head attaches to the neck. And just gently push this bone back and forth. The muscle combing. down underneath of the jaw. I'm going to work on the zygomatic muscle. I'm going to start at the corner of the mouth, work up to the junction, and work on the masseter. I'm going to use some fingertips, pushing this muscle against the bone behind it. I'll do some pressure all around the junction. I'll do some friction around the edge of the masseter. So I finished the masseter muscle. I'm going up into the jaw joint. I'm going to be applying pressure downward. Up with some efforage muscle, little muscle combing, just working very soothing and gentle up in between the ears, forehead. Pressure here is not firm, it's just like a soothe rub. Going to work on the ribs and the intercostal muscles. I'm going to be massaging in circular motions with my currycomb to loosen those muscles that are in between the ribs. So now I'm working on the upper portions of this leg, of the legs. I'm just going to do some connective tissue massage all through this. Go back with some friction. So now I'm going to work on just around the tail, above it and under, just some deep compression with my thumb. Just going to work all above it I'm going to finish up on this side with Rocky. And that completes Tucker's full body massage.